Welcome to the Combot Collective.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Combot Collective, bringing you everything you want to know about the world of robot combat, from the heavyweight class to the flyweight class, from Battlebots to the live circuit. And we're going to be covering a little bit of all of that here, as it is yet another news specific episode of the Combot Collective here. It's just me here for now, as always, your host Sterling Brown, aka Courier 300th, former writer at Third Law Sports and current Battlebots moderator and runner of King of Draft. Just me like right now, like I said. I will be joined by the co-hosts, the correspondents, PoryNog, FRZ, and MisterRedman later in the episode as we cover some robot-related stuff in terms of Mortis and Kraken. That's going to be pretty fascinating to cover. But we also have some smaller news this week. We are talking about a lot of international events. We're talking about small robots events that are happening in Delaware, robot events that are happening in Houston, in Europe, even in India and France. We're covering a lot of crazy stuff this week. We're going all over the world. But it is going to be a bit of a smaller news segment this week. You know, we don't really have any robot combat applicants this week. We have one that came up very late in the week. We're going to be covering it next week, and pardon my French. But we'll be talking about that next week, of course. Like I said, a lot of live event news here. A bit of news about Kraken and a bit of news of Rob Knight from Team Mortis and the Mortis line. So we got a lot of interesting news to give to you here. It's going to be a bit of an interesting one, even if it ends up being a bit quick. So let's get right to it. If you're liking what we're doing here, please give us a like, please give us a subscribe, please give us a comment, and let's get into the news. So our news this week, of course, focusing on just about everything that went down from March 17th to the 25th. But to start off here, this weekend of March, in the 18th and 19th here, crazy amount of small bots events happening all over the world. It is just an amazing sight to see. As we start running down some of these events here, we have events in 3 different nations, crazily enough. Robot fights are going down in America and Europe as always, but we also have fights going down in France. Their first event of 2020, an event we're probably going to get a little bit more in depth on in a future news segment, covering some of the bots, some of the fights that went down there briskly. Nothing on that event yet. That was the Medland Maker fight, the event that was going down in the middle of France. But talking about events that did go down this week, we start off here in my home state of Texas with a fairly small outdoors event here, St. Patty's Day Slam, of course, in Houston, Texas. This is ran by Houston Area Combat Robotics and Innovation Incorporated, I believe is the group they have in there. Also does events. These two groups put together, of course, this event here, a very small event. Every bracket was Swiss bracket. They only had 3 weight classes: beetle weight, ant weight, and fairy weight, which had 3 robots, 7 robots, and 10 robots respectively. So, you know, wasn't the craziest event. Not a whole lot of robots here, but we're going to report the top 3 here. As in the fairy weights, we had we had in 3rd place Flippy, 2nd place Tornado Strong, and taking 1st place Murder Hornet. And then moving on to the ant weight class here, another drum bot taking 1st here, but in 3rd place Hunter, 2nd place Humble, Killer H is there taking 2nd and 3rd, and in 1st place Physique Black, who was all over this competition, ended up getting a placement in beetle weight, but also drum bot right here looking really solid. And these guys have fought since 2014, getting number 1 here at this ant weight event, proving it's the best over all these other Texan robots. But beetle weight, of course, only 3 robots competed, even if it is a fairly popular class. So everyone gets placed here. Box XL ends up getting 3rd place, even though it went 0-2. 2nd place went to Physique Black's older brother, Physique Whack. But the robot we're all really going to know here from this group, 1st place in the beetleweight top 3, Warhard, a robot that, of course, we know from War Easy, Battlebots fame, heavyweight robot that competed in Battlebots 2020, got a 1-2 record there. But oddly enough, more importantly now, what we might know it better from is Norwalk Havoc. We've seen Warhard, XL plenty fighting in those Norwalk Havoc streams, especially at that November event. And recently as well at Motorama, we also saw Warhard and Warhard XL compete there. So one of the bigger teams in Houston now, the War Easy team, we've seen them hop around all over the place, and they're keeping Texas locked down with their robots. We've seen these vertical spinners the War Easy team put together kick a lot of ass, and when more fights open up, more events open up throughout the year, we're probably going to see them kick more. So now we go down to Newark, Delaware for BAYSIDE Robotics. First fights here. A few more robots at this one, 33 robots present. It was at a makerspace, I believe. over by the Bayside area of Delaware. They were running 4 weight classes. All the 8 weight classes were double elimination. The sportsman beetle weight and fairy weight classes were Swiss. They were much smaller. I think one had 5 robots, one had 3 robots. So some small weight classes here, but the ant weight and plastic ant event did have 15 and 10 robots respectively. So a good solid amount of robots here. Before we break into the top 3s for all these weight classes, I do want to give a shout out to my boy Ethan at Broken Gears Robotics, who attended this event. He's on a bit of a road trip right now. He attended this event here, got 2nd and 3rd in a couple events. I'll get to those in a minute, but also going to Norwalk Havoc on the 26th. So we wish Hot Poke and the rest of his robots the best of luck as they go to that event. But how did they do here? Well, let's jump to the Fairyweight top 3, where Imp got 3rd, the Magnificent Steve got 2nd, and A- took the Fairyweight class here with their first spot here. And then we go down to the top 3 at the Plastic Ant weight class. The Captain getting 1st place there, Crash Panda taking 2nd, and Blocko Cheese taking 3rd of that one. Ant weight top 3 though, we have in 3rd place Swamp Woman 2, Temper getting 2nd, and in number 1, a robot named Jordan. A very fancy name. I like human names on robots. And but most importantly, we have the Sportsman Beetle weight class, the class that everyone loves to see. Everyone loves them beetle weights. My boy Broken Gears Robotics, Ethan got 3rd in that. Hokey Poke taking 3rd in the 3 robot class. Oof. But I like Hokey Poke. It's the sportsman version of Hot Poke. It's your classic Witch Doctor style vertical spinner. A bit similar to how the old Hexbug was designed. It has the kind of chambered wheels, classic spinner up front. A little bit bigger than this dude, but not that much bigger. That's the beauty of these small robot classes. But yeah, shout outs to Hokey Poke getting 3rd place there. 2nd place would go to Aloft, and 1st place to Razor Storm in this Newark, Delaware event. Bayside Robotics fights. Hopefully we'll see more from these guys throughout the year. And lastly, we jump all the way to Liverpool, England for SCOUSE Showdown, one of the mini events put on by Bristol Bot Builders. And while we're going to be covering the Midway Rapture event in July in full, this Beetleway event we aren't covering in full. Just a small, not really a smaller event, 24 robots present, but it was Beetleweight only. And we had really some of the top Beetleweights in the class here at this event. We did have bots like Ogre Drive, we had bots like Drizzle, we had Saw Loser come out of a small hiatus there. We had Saw Loser 2 compete at this event. It was super exciting to see Alex Mordew in action again. But talking about who placed top 3 at this event, an event that was run at your usual British Beetleweight arena. It had the out of the arena zone, it had the pit, all your standard stuff. The teams knew what they were expecting in this arena. They've been in it plenty of times, most of them at least. But Oobly, Drumbot takes number 3. Mantra, another drum egg beater style robot, placing 2nd. And then the classic vertical spinner, something very similar to Electric Boogaloo or Endgame. Baby Shrek, or I guess you say After Shrock. Baby Shrek taking 1st here. That spinner looked absolutely deadly. They pretty much ran through this bracket here. Congratulations to those 3 robots, and congratulations to pretty much every robot I listed here. We listed plenty of small robots, giving plenty of shout outs to these smaller teams and these smaller events here. Hopefully we can cover more of these events in the future in our news segment. I really want to start running down as many of these events as possible, shouting out our winners, like I want to do with the Medway Maker fight heading on later in the year. But for now, that's our smaller event group right here, as we now move on to a bigger event happening in India, recently announced. And of course, talking about India, the Indian scene has been so awesome to do Combot Collective with some of the recent stuff we shared with them. And we're trying to be as awesome as we can with them too. It's an awesome scene. They've taken a lot of steps in recent years. And they're taking a big step here as for after 2 years, their first time since COVID, the biggest event in all of India and probably the biggest event in all of Asia right now, the IIT Techfest. Which in itself is the largest maker festival in all of India, one of the biggest in all of Asia. It in itself is a big deal, but ever since 2013 they have hosted Robo Wars at IIT Techfest, and at the start it was a little bit controversial. Robo Wars was the event where the incident happened, where the guy got hit in the head with some shrapnel, had a bit of an injury there. Quite a bit of an injury, I should say, but they took that and they were able to take that and move India forward, their scene forward, as over the years, especially recently during their 2018-2019 events, you can see that this is a high-class arena. They have 15-kilogram robots, they have middleweight 60-kilogram robots competing in this event this year, and that's what they usually run there in India. And these robots are full combat. They're landing these big strikes, big impacts, and the arena's taking it just fine. It's such a huge deal, in fact, that over those past 2 years, especially in 2018 and 2019, they've had robots from America, they've had robots from Brazil, they've had robots from Europe, they've had robots from China, they've even had robots from South Korea come to the IIT Techfest Robo Wars events and compete, because it's a big deal. There's big cash prizes on the line. The competition's a big money group. Winning here means a lot, especially in terms of competition prestige. Battlebots looks at this event, and speaking of Battlebots, the It's Robot Fighting Time Farouk is literally the host of this event. He does ring announcing for these events, and it's crazy what level that IIT Techfest tries to bring. It's definitely going to be an event that we cover when this event starts going down. I believe they're going to be doing it middle of April. Signups actually shut down today as I am recording this. So no more signups, but be on the lookout for the middle of April when this event starts to go down. It's going to be crazy. Who knows going to be showing up? And in fact, talking about some of the robots that might be showing up at this event, the people at RoboWars recently they recently updated their website with all the info about this new 2022 RoboWars event. I will post a link to that page in the description below. It is from the ITT Techfest webpage. But on that page, they have some info. They have rules about the 2 weight classes they run, the middleweight class and the 15 kilogram class. But they also have put rankings for these weight classes on here as well. Talking about the 15 kilogram class, they have ranked 3rd Swaraj coming from Team Invincibles in India, your classic drum bot. Ranked 2nd, they have Jubilee coming from none other than Team Uriah, the same team that has Black Dragon at Battlebots, a perennial contender there. They're ranked number 2nd in India with their horizontal spinner. But the top ranked 15 kilogram robot is Venus, also from India. They're from Team Vision Bot. It's kind of surprising not to see Blanket Bots in this group, but that's your classic vertical spinner, Venus. But moving on to the class, a lot of people talk about the 60 kilogram class, the middleweight class. Uriah also in this ranking at number 4 with the very popular General, the robot that Black Dragon was based off of. Honestly surprised not to see it ranked higher. But 3 Indian bots ranked above them with Swag, a robot familiar with some people due to its silly name. They're ranked number 3 from Team Tech No Minds. They're your classical vertical spinner. The vertical spinner meta is very popular in India. I will say that. Every top robot you're going to see there is your classic 2-wheeled vert. Very similar to Brazil in that regard, but moving forward here, number 2 ranked robot is Viper, also from Team Vision Bots. It's your classic vertical spinner yet again, very electric boogaloo in its design, and a robot that we've talked about plenty in the past here at the Combot Collective from none other than Team Blanca Bots, a top tier team in their own right with Tanaji, who is just the most refined robot in all of India. It's like their bite force. It seriously is, and it's a robot you gotta look out for. It's a robot that's probably going to win this event. And just be excited for IIT Techfest. Be excited for international robot competitions. Like I said, I believe this event is happening early, middle April, and the Combot Collective will be all over covering it once full footage of this event comes out. If full footage of this event comes out, otherwise we'll just have to resort to doing a highlight thingy of it in the news. But I digress. I can't wait to have this event back, and this is just another good healing step. We are seeing Bitva Robotov come back. We're now seeing IIT Techfest come back. I know China's still a bit shaky, but I would really love to see Fighting My Bots come back if King of Bots and Clash Bots are both dead, which is unfortunately what it's looking like. But India, they're back at it. They had Hell in a Cell, which is what the first ranked Tanaji bot won. And we did that about a month ago now. They're getting another event going on right here with middleweights, lightweights, and everything. I can't wait as we now move forward talking about Kraken here in the news. And here in our news, we're bringing in Pory and Freeze for this one, talking about a bit of an interesting thing going on here on the Kraken AMA that we saw at the Battlebots subreddit last week. I think Freeze can chime in a little bit on this according to what the fan said here, but let's read off the post here. This, of course, was from a fan that was at the Battlebots matchup at the last fight of the season between Glitch and Kraken that Kraken ended up losing by knockout here, one of Kraken's only knockout losses. The fan said, "Just asking if you're really retiring because the show stupidly didn't put your post-show fight interview with Glitch. Hope you guys can come back. You're one of the most interesting robots. We can't not have a crusher." So, Freeze, they did say something about that?
Yeah, Matt Spurk, he was pretty frustrated by the end of the season, and I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Having those matches go to decision, especially the hijinks one that was, a little controversial to say the least, and then also just not fulfilling the boss potential. I think, just some bad luck in there. And then, the cherry on top of that was getting knocked out by the rookie Glitch, who out of nowhere seemed to get most of their stuff together in that fight. And, I don't blame his frustration at all. It's hard to come in with an unconventional design, especially one that doesn't do damage in the traditional way and get wins. It seems like we only get a couple of those each season, and Kraken was on the wrong end of the stick. I'd like to see them come back in their current form, but I don't blame him redesigning. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think he's going for?
I don't know. Going from what Kraken says right here from Summer 11699, I don't know which team member that is, but they said that we weren't sure if they were going to show the post-fight interview after Glitch. We did say that we will be retiring Kraken in her current form. We improved her as much as we can as Humatic Cruncher, and we want to try something different for her to be competitive. Our teams hope to return. Will it be a new Kraken or a completely different robot? We have not decided yet. Personally, I don't know. It'd have to be something really crazy for CE Robotics to make for them to get accepted, because they've already built Kraken up so much. I mean, it's literally on the new official guide's cover. But I mean, it's just a product of what Battlebots is putting out there. Look at what happened to Blacksmith. I mean, Blacksmith made it look really awesome. We'll give him credit, but it's still a hammer saw. And I'm sure whatever Matt Spurk and the Kraken crew here at CE Robotics can put together, it'll be fantastic. My personal theory, my idea of like a Kraken, like I guess I would do is like, as an armchair builder, it would be like same concept, but like in the upper roof of the mouth, I would probably have like a saw or a verse, like right here. And it could still be a grabber or a crusher. And I don't know if I would probably have the vert spinning inward, so it would bring the bot in. I don't know how feasible that is, rather than just shooting it out.
The court definitely wants Red Devil to come back at any cost.
Yes, I loved Red Devil. It's a shame what happened.
Yeah.
But maybe not like you're doing both the grab and the saw at the same time, though, instead of like it being two separate actions, if that makes sense. It's like
I
it's
think
built
the bottom
in there.
line would be we'd like to see it come back as Kraken, even if it's a different Kraken. Just to change it up, maybe add an extra bit of a way of doing damage. But I think it would probably be the best idea for them too, because if it comes back as Kraken, it's got fans. I think people would want to see it back.
People love Kraken. They have merch. They have a great team. They're one of the best branded robots.
Yeah, but I mean, Battlebots does have a habit of making merch of a robot right before it makes massive changes, so we can't really be surprised.
Yeah.
We got the rotator toy, the duck toy.
Blacksmith.
What else we got here? Witch Doctor, Blacksmith.
And you can even put Kraken in there if
Whiplash.
like that, because like I said, this Battlebots official guide isn't out yet, and it's on the freaking cover, and now they're going to change it. But by that point, New Kraken will have already fought.
They're actually going with the 200 IQ plays, and they made a toy off a version of Rusty that doesn't exist. So I guess they're trying to beat themselves to it.
Hey, that was pretty smart.
Big brain move. But
and then watch that version not even
maybe
compete.
before Kraken becomes a hammer saw.
It's possible.
I really hope it isn't that open shut. Oh man.
Well, one thing I will say is that people would make the joke about like, oh, another hammer saw. There's only like 3 of them compared to the number of like verts we have. I mean, it's not like, I don't know. I think people think the meta is being filled on these designs when we already have like 20 of 30 of the meta design. I mean, it's not that big of a deal if they become another hammer saw, and I think they could put their own unique spin on it. But whatever they do, I want to see that team back. I think they're a good team. I think they're a really unique team. The fact that he brings his entire family out there, I think that's really cool. So
it's one of those people forget, but Kraken. I mean, obviously people will obviously underrate Kraken. People say, oh, it's too rudimentary, or say like it's a basic robot. But no, Matt Spurk is a NASA engineer. Let's not forget that. But at the end of the day, it is a family build. It is a garage build, like the Rusties, like the Rampages of the world, and it has achieved some success. It's gotten main event victories against Witch Doctor. It's found itself in playoff competitions. It had a pretty solid performance in that South Florida Fair live event back in January. I showed Pory and Red the footage of it absolutely destroying Extinguisher, probably his best crush yet, and that was after.
I saw that too. That was that was nice.
That was beautiful, and as nice as that was, I doubt it's going to change Matt Spurk's mind, because they got good positioning there. it is really unfortunate here. Of course, CE Robotics, whatever they're going to make, I'm sure it's going to look absolutely fantastic. I am a little curious. I don't know if it will be 1-to-1, but I don't know if you guys remember the alternate version of Kraken that was originally proposed. That's very Deep Six-ish, I guess you could say. I don't know if it would be exactly like that, since Deep Six has kind of filled that hole now. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go for like a Nightmare style vert, maybe something crazy like that. But I guess time is only going to have to tell. I just hope we still see them in the main competition. We got a little bit of UK news as we now bring in Redman for this one here. This is a fun one. We talked a little bit about the Walden Overlord and his captain, Rob Knight. Way back a couple months now ago when we started doing these news segments. But now as we wrap up the main season Battlebots news segments, we talk about Rob Knight yet again, but now for his other lineage of robots, and the lineage of robots that everyone really knows him for. We're talking about the Mortis line. Of course, this robot, you know, won its heat in Robot Wars Series 2, War of Independence champion, was always a mainstay, really kind of played that Hydra role of the classic Robot Wars era of like that rich robot, a lot of money involved in it. You know, you just love to hate it. But they were also revolutionary. They were the first robots to ever run brushless motors, all the way back in 1998. They had the fantastic Tanto blade axe mechanism that ran on that motion that we'll put up right here, because that's the main basis of the news right here. Rob Knight of Team Mortis of the Walden Overlord now making a new addition to the Mortis line, the Mortis family here. Probably the first version since the 2001-2002 version that we saw compete at Battlebots 2.0, that we saw compete at Robot Wars Series 4. That might even been 2000, come to think of it. I don't know if, because Rigor Mortis never got off the ground, nor did the Series 7 version. I'm digressing here. This is the official latest version. This Maker Faire built version is pretty much just a proof of concept I think Rob Knight was doing for fun, but it is competing at a Maker Faire fighting competition that's happening in France. Maker Fight Mulhouse, that's the name of the event. It was just a fairly basic featherweight, I believe it was featherweight event happening in France. Some fairly basic robots here, as you can see, that competed at the event. A couple standouts, but real standout here, of course, was Rob Knight's Mini Mortis. What are y'all's thoughts, especially you, Redman, on this brand new Mortis? Maybe something brand new from the team. We know they're trying to get into Battlebots yet again. Maybe this is a first step, bit of a proof of concept for some stuff they're working on.
I think it's fantastic. Like it'd be great to see Mortis return, since way back when, of course, in the old Robot Wars days, Mortis was like one of those machines that just seemed ahead of everyone
Miles
in terms of like technology and design. They were like fantastic, especially in Series 1 of Robot Wars. If you compared Mortis in comparison to every other machine there that was built and made out of like, you know,
literal street signs,
splints and screws. This machine was built and like probably government funded. You know, this was a really hefty machine, and the only real threat to it really at the time was Recyclops, which was built by an engineer who also knew what he was doing with his machines.
Yeah, Mortis won that, by the way.
Oh yeah. It's old news.
Yeah, it's only 2 decades old.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's just great to see them like return, because I'd love to see the Mortis team return and their axe mechanism just rapidly rotating like continuous peppering that was first seen earlier ages ago in the older seasons. It'd be just fantastic just to see it again and just experience Mortis another time. Like, it'd just be fab, really, just to see Mortis come back. And it seems in terms of the design, they kind of got like the Omni wheels at the front and the I suppose proper drive at the back. So it's probably going to be those things.
The front. They are trying some new things here, aren't they?
Yeah, so I'm thinking they're probably going to do something where they're always going to have, they're going to try and like keep the front always angled on their opponent, kind of like, I suppose, a pseudo turret kind of design.
Yeah.
But like they're going, I suppose, like with a proper drive at the back for that pushing power, since I don't think Omnis are that good with pushing power. So they're kind of going with a hybrid there.
Yeah, a bit of a best of both worlds. Good.
Yeah, so it'd be good. It'd be good to see what they bring out and come back with, and anything they make will just be exciting.
Yeah, Rob Knight is really one of the most underrated builders in Robot Combat right now, just because he is he always got one foot in the water, but the stuff that Balded Overlord did in 2016, so proper marvel, and the stuff that he's teased for the version we might see in 2022, oh, it just makes me drool, just thinking about what that robot might be able to do in the arena. But yeah, this mini Mortis, I did see a little bit of footage of it, not too much footage of it is out right now, but it does have a bit of a kick. If you think of like the 2016 beta, it does kind of throw itself up with every axe swing. So there is definitely a bit of work that needs to be done. It doesn't really, it can't efficiently do the proper like Mortis dead blow style whack 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 yet. But the butt itself, it's very bare bones. Like I said, it's very much a concept, bit of a proof of concept here, a bit of a test. But if this is the first step to get a proper Mortis, even if just in the UK scene for funsies or whatever they managed doing, even in a one-off situation, I'd be all here for it. And as we finish up talking about mini Mortis here, we're done with the news this week. No applications. Like I said, we have some applicants next week, but they were a bit on the cutoff, so we'll have to wait a couple days to talk about them. But we still had a little bit of news this week. Plenty of small bots events, of course. We had the Maker event happening in France that we'll be covering in the future. But of course, we also have St. Patty's Day Slam hosted by HACR in Houston, Texas. 3 weight classes there. Shouts to Warhard winning Beetleweight. Moving forward, we have BAYSIDE Robotics first fights happening in Newark, Delaware with 33 robots present. Shouts to Broken Gears Robotics for showing up at that event. 4 weight classes there. SCOUSE Showdown in Liverpool, England, ran by the Great Bristol Bot Builders Group. 24 robots present. Baby Shrek won that event. All vertical spinners, top 3 there. Moving forward here, though, IIT Techfest, the largest robot combat event in all of India, has finally returned. Their spectacle, their showcase. They got Farouk, they got fireworks, they got a huge arena, and it's full combat. That's something you gotta look out for if you want some robot combat after Battlebots ends. But talking about Battlebots, it looks like from what we heard from Matt Spurk, Team Kraken, or Kraken itself I should say, is potentially retiring their current Crusher design. They said that the Crusher setup isn't feasible no more, so we're gonna have to see what they bring next. Hopefully it's something very similar, but only time will tell. And then lastly, talking about some robots retiring, we're also talking about some robots coming back once again as we talk about Mini Mortis, the featherweight from Rob Knight of Mortis and of Balded Overlord fame. These guys compete at the Melwin Maker Fight event in France, and seemingly did pretty good. We'll have to see what the final results are for, but that's our news this week. Arco ran all over the place, like I said, some in India, some in Europe, some in France, some in America. That's what robot combat is, though. It's an international sport, and that's pretty much why we love it. But as we wrap up the news here, I do want to give a thank you to MisterRedman, to Freeze, to Pory for all coming in at the end of the news bit here. You can find them in our description below. But talking about everything else here, I am Sterling Brown of the Combot Collective. You can find me on Instagram at SterlingTXTG. And for the Combot Collective, please, if you enjoyed what you saw in this news episode, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, join our Discord server because that's where we put all of our news first. And of course, on our YouTube page, give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a comment. We love you guys, and we love Robot Combat. We're trying to cover as much as we can, as often as we can, because this sport is big, it's ranged, and it needs as much coverage on every little thing possible because it all just deserves as much love and attention. This is a sport that ends up being a bit thankless sometimes just because of the hard work that goes into these robots that aren't cheap. Even the smaller weight classes, they ain't cheap. There's a reason why I don't compete anywhere. But I digress. This has been another news episode of the Combot Collective, and we hope you enjoyed it. We will see you again next time here.
This was the Combot Collective. Find us on Instagram and Discord.